Hey folks, your OS Reviews. You're watching our retro unboxing of the Sharp FX Plus. This was an Android smartphone that came out in 2011, and it had its slide-out QWERTY keyboard, which made it a decent option for messaging fans as well as for social media users. But even at the time, it was a budget-oriented phone with only a 3.2-inch display and a single-core 600 MHz processor. With that being said, it's a GSM device. You can still find it online, like the version that we found through Amazon here, that is through H2O and other low-cost prepaid service networks that are still offering it at very low prices, like $30 and under if you want a backup or an emergency prepaid device for messaging. It runs on Android version 2.2, has that 3.2-inch capacitive display, and also has a 3-megapixel camera with the typical Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and a GPS functionality. So very low-end and just a simple messaging-centric smartphone. So let's take a closer look at what's in this refurbished packaging now. Sharp is one of those companies that we don't typically see produce handsets for the US market. They make a lot of international and Japanese handsets. And the last cell phone that we reviewed from them was the Aquos Crystal. And that was a beautiful device with the edgeless display, which is kind of coming back again through Xiaomi's devices. And it's becoming the latest trend, having infinity screens and edge-to-edge displays. And that's something that Sharp pioneered through the Aquos Crystal phone. And you can see our review on our channel as well. So this is one of their earlier devices and a lot more simple and not as nearly as cool or hyped up, but just a very kind of solid messaging device. Let's see, everything has been seemingly packaged again in these plastic containers. Here's the battery, which is removable, so that's nice. It was fairly typical back in the day to have removable batteries, especially on budget phones. And we had access to a what looks like 1,240 milliamp hour capacity, which is decent enough on such a small device. Here is a USB cable by Sharp. It uses micro USB to charge a pretty long cable length, which is nice. You can still use it to plug into the wall without any problems. And then again, a very typical power plug, not Qualcomm quick charge or anything, just a simple USB lead. And finally, we have just the phone itself. In terms of competitors, the footprint of this phone is very similar to the Samsung Sidekick 4G. That seems to be a pretty popular phone that people liked when we did a retro review a few years back on our channel. And it shares resemblance in terms of its design, but it's not nearly as elegant or refined. It's also a little bit cheaper. But again, Sharp did produce a lot of the early sidekicks for Danger, and so they have that legacy in terms of making great messaging slide-out devices. And this is one of the few that also has smartphone capabilities. Seems to be a screen protector on here. All right, seems like there's even this kind of interesting texture on the display. I'm not sure if it's going to be visible on the camera here, but certainly interesting. There's no front-facing camera on here, so just very simple touchscreen. This one was for AT&T originally, but you can get it again through H2O and other prepaid carriers now, and also unlocked. Physical Android controls on the very bottom of the unit, including going to the menu, home, back, and search. Speaker grill on the very top for the earpiece, and then slide-out keyboard is spring-assisted, which is pretty satisfying. And then we have a QWERTY keyboard, which is 4 rows, slightly concurved. And the keys themselves are pretty large and easy to type on, although they're kind of stiff, so they're not very tactile. They're kind of hard to press on a first impressions perspective. So not the greatest keyboard, actually, but the keys themselves are fairly large, so that is one of the things that it has going for it. Plastic construction, camera on the back. There's no autofocus, but there's a loudspeaker. Soft touch rubber material makes it pretty easy to grip. And then you have some accents which are chrome edged on the sides, including the micro USB port for charging, volume rocker, camera shutter key, as well as another power on off switch and a 3.5mm headphone jack on the very top. So underneath here, we just have the SIM card slot, micro SD card slot, and the battery compartment. That seems to be it. So pretty simple and straightforward. So we're going to do a bit more testing and come out with a throwback or a retro review video for this handset. Maybe even stack it up against the Sidekick 4G if you guys still want us to do a bit more coverage on that device. Seems like there is a bit of charge on the battery here, and we just boot up to the Sharp logo. So Anyways, it should be pretty straightforward since it's just an Android 2.2 device. There is a light skin on top of Android by Sharp, but it's not heavily customized. Just like Sharp's newer Android phones, they don't really tend to put a skin on top of Android. It's very vanilla, which is what we like about their handsets. It keeps it clean, there's not that much bloatware, and allows the user to customize the phone as they like, which is pretty cool. See how long it takes to completely boot. There we go. So it's booted up, and it seems like we can just bypass the activation and just directly go home. You can see the keys on the bottom here are backlit, so you can still see them under darker environments. And then the keyboard here is also backlit, so you can type in the dark as well. So that's been our retro unboxing and kind of hands-on again of the Sharp FX Plus, a messaging-centric Android smartphone. And we'll come back with a bit more information in the form of a retro review soon, so keep posted for that. Thanks for watching here at OS Review.